Hey there, this is Dawn Del Vecchio. Hello. Oops, I think maybe I missed it. Hello, this is Dawn Del Vecchio with dawndelvecchio.com. And I am coming live today. Not that I really have many people watching live yet. Hopefully, in the future, as I do this more frequently, maybe some of you will catch me or I'll make a schedule. But for now, I want to invite you to stick through to the end of this, whether you're watching it live or whether you jump on while I'm still live or whether you watch it later, because what I want to talk about today are the frequency increases and the impact that along with some of the astronomical phenomena that are happening, how they impact people's unprocessed wounds, psychologically buried material, or what we could call the shadow. So I want to start this, first of all, with a metaphor. And I want to invite you to imagine for a moment. It's a little bit gross, but it'll make sense in a moment. I want you to imagine a mason jar. Okay, a mason jar, with the lid on top, and or maybe in this case the lid's off. So it's a clear glass jar, and I want you to imagine that in this mason jar there's water that's about maybe 2/3 to 3/4 of the way to the top. And in addition to the water at the very, very bottom, the very base, about maybe 1/4 of the jar. I mean, it can be any amount, 1/4 or less. Hi, Susan. Thank you for showing up. It's good to see you here. Um, at the bottom of the mason jar, there's a pile of very still, very stabilized at the bottom fecal matter. Poop. Yeah, poop. So you've got this clear mason jar and you've got poop on the bottom, fecal matter, and then you've got all this water getting close to the top. Now, this is a metaphor for the subconscious psyche of most humans, because most humans have never done any work on their shadow, their buried material, their trauma from this incarnation, trauma from other incarnations, family lineage trauma, stresses, worries, hates, projections, basically all of the stuff that's buried that they're not connected with. It's in their subconscious mind and it's not been cleared or resolved. It's not been healed, it's not been worked on, it's not been brought to the light for clarification. So all of that is just like sitting at the bottom of their psyches, or our psyches as humans. It's just sitting there, nice and still, with the water on the top. We're 70% water, so the water can be the symbol of all the rest of the water in our body, or just basically all the rest of us. Okay, so here we have this jar. We got the poop, we got the water. The poop is nice and still at the bottom. It's left alone. As long as no one shakes up the jar, everything's hunky-dory. So here we all are on planet Earth with the majority of humans walking around with the psychological, psycho-spiritual equivalent of some trauma, some buried material, some poop in their buried psyches. Now, for some people, that's a very small amount. For others, it's an incredibly large amount. So here we are, we're cruising, we're on planet Earth, we're revolving around the sun every year. And as we're revolving around the sun and all the other planets are revolving around the sun, the solar system itself is spiraling through our galaxy. And as we spiral through the galaxy, what we know is that we came around 2012. We started moving into an area of the galaxy that vibrates at a higher frequency. Now, if you've ever watched any of those, I think they're called Schumann resonance. No, not Schumann, excuse me. I think they're called right frequencies. You can look them up on YouTube. You can look and see. Certain sound frequencies, when played, can actually move sand or iron filings on a metal plate into different geometric shapes. In other words, frequency can change the shape of form of solid matter. Okay, so I hope you're tracking with me. If you're tracking with me, definitely let me know. So, okay, so here we are. We're humans on planet Earth, and many of us have buried, unresolved wounds, wounds from things we've received from early childhood, maybe other incarnations in the family lineage, all of that. But we're going through life, we're coping with life, everything's going okay. And now our solar system starts moving through a higher frequency part of the galaxy. So what does that mean? That means that the frequency starts to raise on planet Earth. And we know this is true. This is not science fiction, this is science fact. That the Schumann resonance, which is the resonance or the frequency of Earth, Mother Gaia herself, has increased. It's increased. So just think about that for a minute. Imagine that jar nice and still on the counter, and all of a sudden the frequency starts to raise. What's happening? The jar starts to shake a little. And maybe that poop that's on the bottom, it's not so still and steady anymore. It starts stirring up and it starts coming into the water. The clear water starts to be infiltrated with this fecal matter. Then we throw on top of it some solar flares. We know that solar flares also impact our Earth. They impact the frequency and the intensity of everything we're experiencing here. Then on top of that, in this period of time in July 2018 and during other eclipse season periods, but I'm going to speak to this one in particular, we have eclipses, we have eclipse seasons. And in this particular eclipse season, we have the involvement of first the planet Pluto, which is the great transformer, and also Mars retrograde, which is the suppression of rage and buried material. And these are all, I'm not going to go into astro geek speak about it. If you're an astrologer, there are fantastic astrology top videos here on YouTube that you can go to look at that, what the specific degrees and houses and signs and all that are. But just suffice it to say that Pluto, the great transformer, is very much involved in the first one, as is Mars, the warrior, in retrograde, which means suppressed rage and anger is one of the definitions of that. And Mars retrograde plays an even stronger role in the second one on July 27th, the second eclipse, as does the planet Uranus, which is the great rebel and the buster of old paradigms, the breaker downer of structures. So let's put all these pieces together now. We've got all these people on planet Earth, and we have thousands of years of trauma in our lineages. And I don't care what your ethnicity is, unless you're still a person whose lineage has mostly been untouched in tribal culture. Most of us have trauma in the lineage, at the very least. Many, many of us have trauma from our early childhood, and probably most, if not the vast majority of us, also are dealing with incarnational trauma that we're in this timeline is coming for us to clear. So we have all of that going on, all of that, the metaphoric equivalent of fecal matter or poop at the bottom of the jar. And now we have all these frequencies impacting us to the point where that jar is shaking up. So what does this mean? Those of us who are committed to doing our shadow work, to facing our own wounding, our trauma, our suffering, our struggle, and clearing it out, bringing it to light, and using healing modalities of all kinds in order to help clear out this old stuff, we are going to fare a lot better. Why? Because we have less poop on the bottom of our jar. It's pretty simple. We don't have as much to cloud up our minds, our hearts, our relationships, etc. However, the vast majority of people on planet Earth are not doing their shadow work. Most of them don't have the resources for it. They're not even close to it. Many maybe would like to and still don't have the resources. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that their own trauma is going to start to cloud their rational minds, just the way a bunch of fecal matter in a jar would cloud the clear water as it got shaken up and shaken up and shaken up and bubbling up to the very top of the jar, and sometimes even pouring over the jar. So this is my silly metaphor, but I feel I've been sharing it now for a little while, a few months with people, and I feel like it really rings true for us in these times. So I want to take a moment now to really talk about what we do, because if you're watching this, you're probably not someone who's never done any work on yourself. You're probably someone who is wanting to do work on yourself, is wanting to clear out your own shadow material, is wanting to face and integrate your own shadow material, and maybe isn't well along the way of doing that. You're probably also someone who is a healer or a helper or a leader of some kind. So the point of all of this is, what do we do about it? So the first thing is that I invite you to take a breath. I invite you to take a breath and to drop into the crystal clear waters of your own eternal being, bringing that luminous light of the divine into your being, into your spirit, into your energy body, into your physical body. Because the one thing we need right now on this earth are people dedicated to clarity and to love. Because as we continue to move deeper and deeper through the part of the galaxy where the frequency is higher, and as we continue to see systems, old systems that are not in service to love or light or equality or safety or decency, as we see them crumble, more and more school shootings, um, personal attacks out of nowhere, aggressivity, hostility, war, a president that the Americans have decided to choose who is a, sort of the illustration of unprocessed shadow material. So what we need to do really is anchor into the breath, anchor into the light, and begin to really recognize that when we see that stuff out there, on the one hand, all of us collectively are creating it. And when it comes to us personally, an attack, a stressful situation, a conflict, it is an opportunity for us to go within and look at, where am I being given an opportunity to clear out some of my own shadow material, to bring light to an old pain, an old wound, an old trauma, and clear it so that I can have a more crystal clear mind, so that I can anchor light, and so that I can be a force of light during times of great change and great destabilization of systems on the planet as well as the human psyche. So I just want to invite anyone who has a comment about this, a thought about this, a question about this, to please share in the chat box. I'll be checking this periodically after I do the live. And really, again, inviting you to look at, what are the alternative, or what are the processes by which I can deepen into my own clearing, facing my shadow material, and bringing it to the light for integration, for healing, for clearing. There are many out there. I know, Susan, you're watching now. You have incredible processes to help people. I too, I work with NLP, ceremony. Um, the Course in Miracles is another very, very powerful tool. Very, very powerful way of beginning to return to love and to um, free ourselves of the confused beliefs about hate and attack and the wounding in the psyche. And there are many others. I mean, that's the other side of the coin, is as these frequencies increase, the light also increases. So those of us who have been doing our inner work, to whatever degrees, you don't have to be like perfectly clear, a perfectly clear jar of water. But as we do that work, many of us are receiving guidance and downloads and new modalities and ways to help for what I call the coming wave of need. So this is an invitation, really, to all the light workers, family of light, the high vibe tribe, those of you who are committed to return to love, on a path of love and healing and support for this transition on planet Earth. This is an invitation and a call for you to do your shadow work, and know that whatever comes your way, when you hold it in the light of love, and when you are committed to discovering your responsibility with it in order to transmute it alchemically through your being, you are in service to all of us. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I thank you, thank you, thank you, and wish you all many, many blessings. Mwah.